So I wanted to talk about my reaction to the Fallout TV show on Amazon Prime. I um I don't have any notes written, so my thoughts may not be so ordered. I may leave out some of the points I wish to make. So let's hope I get most of it. And anyway, the show, absolutely loved it. Thought it was uh, like I at first watched the first two episodes before I had to, work the next day, and I was supremely impressed by the first two episodes, and really, it's like another reviewer said the first five episodes were excellent. You know, there, I, 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 I've attempted to play Fallout, but I've never beaten any of the Fallout games, and although I've attended a number of live action airsoft role playing events um, that are Fallout themed that take place in Ocala, Florida at Wayne's World of Paintball, and they're organized and hosted by Wayne's World, not Wayne's World of Paintball, that's the location, but Mind Game Productions. So I've I've been exposed to the kind of like the atmosphere, even though I may not be very versed on the lore. So, but I thought that the the series did a great job of kind of encapsulating a representation or a personification of each faction, at, at least of some of the factions. Maybe they didn't, cover all the factions um, in this series. And, like, they showed some raiders. They showed the Brotherhood of Steel was represented. Vault Dwellers were represented. There's a character who represents the ghouls. Now, I'm not sure if the ghouls are the same as the mutants. Like there are I think I don't know if they're considered a faction per se, but I think they're called super mutants or something like that. And the the Deathclaw creature kind of stands out as a big character, or like a stereotypical fixture, I guess, in the Fallout world, but I don't know if we got to actually see a Deathclaw in the series. I don't think I saw one. Anyway, so I've got like zero complaints about the series. And that might be because maybe I'm not as versed on the lore as other people are. But I did have one major complaint, and that is that I think, I don't know, the writers, I don't know who's responsible exactly, but someone at some point made a decision, and this is a spoiler, so if you haven't seen the series yet, you'll want to stop listening right now, because I'm about to drop a major spoiler. So I'll give you a second to turn the video off, or and now I'm going to share the spoiler, and that is that the series blames the dropping of the bombs on America on essentially America, saying that vault-tec dropped the bombs on America basically for profits, for a long-term business strategy. Whereas it's my understanding that it was the Chinese communists who dropped the bombs on America. Now, Amazon deals in a lot of Chinese merchandise, and the anti-capitalist message that's part of this show but has for a long time been part of communism, because they'll call you, for example, capitalist pigs. It was like that was a stereotypical thing that a Russian communist character would call an American back in the 80s, was a capitalist pig, or sometimes an imperialist. Maybe that refers to British people, I don't know, but anyway, so it's clear that communists have a problem with capitalists. But the thing is, and this has already been pointed out, is that obviously Amazon is a capitalist venture, so there's an irony there, but the show tries to shame America for its capitalist ventures, whereas Amazon deals in Chinese merchandise where the Chinese are doing big business. Now, I don't know if all that money is like a profit for the Chinese government. I'm not sure how that works over there, or whether Chinese companies get to keep those profits. The majority of them, I assume they're taxed to some degree. But there's no shaming of Chinese capitalism or Chinese business, just of American business in the show. So if you were to take like the anti-capitalist message to its extreme, and this is kind of what you have to do logically to show how flawed a perspective can be, you would have each person in their own little hovel or hamlet, or thatched hut, or whatever it is they personally had their own ability to create, to dwell in, growing their own food on their own tiny little plot of land. And that would be the extreme expression of anti-capitalism. Or maybe not even that. Maybe they're nomads, just wandering around, I don't know, picking berries or something. I seriously doubt they would be approving of hunting, even though that's almost certainly what you would have to do to survive. But the thing is, if America was like that, where we all grew our own food, then there would be no amazing accomplishments. You would have no technological advances. People would still be crafting things out of trees from their backyard. There wouldn't be any hospitals. Lots of the services that we take for granted, sewage, electricity, plumbing, waste disposal, law enforcement, which, I mean, does have its benefits, we wouldn't have any of that, because everybody would be expressing the extreme of the anti-capitalist message, and they would be, growing their own food, and that's what would occupy their days. If they had a medical issue, well, I guess you'd have to hope that the local doctor could, suspend his cherry picking for the day and come over to your house and see if he could treat whatever's bothering you. And if it required surgery, well, oh well, because, he's not going to have the facilities for that. There would be so many advances that just wouldn't happen because people wouldn't be banding together under the leadership of a company to achieve those humongous accomplishments that would require many people to cooperate and work together to achieve. So this anti-capitalist message is just, I don't know if I can even call it intellectual adolescence, because I'm not sure if it's even gone as far as adolescence. It's more like toddler thinking. It's like they haven't bothered, they don't even, it's not that they don't have the foresight of your common squirrel. It's like, I don't think that they can even think like 2 hours ahead. And this trend, this like stupid, like masochistic desire to feel shame about every great thing that America has accomplished, like our mass media always has to try to find the dark side of the story of whatever great thing was accomplished, and then devalue that accomplishment by bringing to light the darkest facet or aspect of the story that led to that accomplishment, so that you wind up at the end of the day feeling guilty because you were born an American. Yeah, so and what it's grieving that the response from Gen Z, and maybe not so much millennials, but Gen Z, I guess, is okay boomer, which that's not an intellectual response. Trying to character assassinate someone with your ageist condemnation, when the boomer is someone who's actually had a much broader base of experience in life than the Gen Z person. So you're just discounting all of this wisdom and experience and perception of the flows and rhythms and trends that have taken place in America over time. You're just discounting all that, all of the cause that led to the effect of your present day circumstances, and you're just looking at the way things are right now and not learning from the past just because someone's hair is a little gray. And you're just wolfing down this sort of propaganda that's making you think that America is just such an evil entity and that everything it does is bad, which is contrary to probability. and you're not even foreseeing that the reason that they're doing this to you is so that you wolf down another ideology which somehow is pristine and perfect and not flawed, to the end of transforming America into something that is a radical departure from its foundations and the values that were put to paper or parchment, whatever, as guidelines for a superior nation. And a superior nation is what it was regarded for so long. But it's only recent that the propaganda has become so ubiquitous or incessant that weak minds can never question it, and they just affirm this new confession that America isn't such a great nation after all. As I said, in the show, or in the Fallout lore, it was the Chinese communists who dropped the bombs on America. I don't think the show really does a very good job of explaining why it's good business practice to wipe out your consumer base with nuclear bombs. Like they say, oh, it's to sell more vaults. People who are dead don't need to reside in a vault. Or someone that's already been irradiated by the nukes, he doesn't need to buy a place in a vault, especially since the vaults were already built and vault-tec isn't continuing to construct more vaults after the bombs dropped. So I don't understand how wiping out the populace leads to selling more vaults. They say it's to wipe out all of the business competitors, but I didn't really see where the show represented who those business competitors were. And I don't see how wiping out the currency system, because they don't use dollars or gold or silver apparently anymore. They use bottle caps as currency on the surface. So is that what vault-tec wants, is bottle caps? That was the reason they dropped the bomb, because they wanted to collect bottle caps? It doesn't make much sense to me. And I think the reason it doesn't make much sense is that they revised the lore's history to make America guilty of its own circumstances in that post-apocalyptic age, whereas the original lore made sense. The Chinese dropped the bomb, and it fits with the 50s and 60s, the anti-communist atmosphere. So anyway, if there's a season 2, I'll probably watch it, because it's still very entertaining. And I think, like, some comments from the cleric of the Brotherhood of Steel kind of mirrored what's going on in America's own military, where he basically said, like, the Brotherhood of Steel is becoming soft. Well, that's part of the communist agenda that's going on in our present day military with all the wokest stuff, where where instead of learning how to use maybe a javelin anti-armor weapon, training on that, instead you're taking all sorts of like training, telling you, don't rape, when, I mean, that should be obvious. I mean, it was obvious when I was in. You didn't need training to tell you that rape was illegal. But I guess nowadays you need hours of training to inculcate that in soldiers, and I don't know what other sorts of non-militant training they're subjected to. What other training takes up so much of their time that prevents them from achieving battle readiness, whereas the Chinese military, the North Koreans, they seem to be taking things seriously, and we know that Russia is now taking things very seriously. They say that Russia's force size is now larger than it was at the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine, despite the fact that they've lost, what is it, like over 130,000 troops in that war. And I think Europe is finally starting to wake up and take things more seriously. And I'm getting little hints that excuse me, that in America the tide might be changing, and that responsible leaders are beginning to realize that we have to reverse this course of stupidity, or we could get buried by people who are taking things more seriously than we are. We've been essentially living in a vault, in a very secure, peaceful, happy vault in America, whereas a lot of the world is more like the wastes. And now the wastes are have entered our vault, and they're tearing up the place. So we have to clean house if we want to go on enjoying peace and prosperity and order, and not have to wander the wastes, fighting tooth and nail for our survival. So, but the intent of this review is that anyone who watches it, which probably won't be that many people, is that you view these things critically and try to ascertain or discern the intent behind behind the messages that they're pushing. That's if you can discern what the message they're pushing is, and that you don't just absorb it as and take it as gospel truth without inspecting it and realizing that you're being subjected to social engineering, engineered opinion. Turn to those who have been Americans longer than you have and ask them about how things were, and Um, what was great about America while they, or when they were younger, or in the years before you were an American, and then, I don't know, hopefully try to emulate that as Americans. Um, if you want America to survive, and that's part of their agenda, is that they want you to be so ashamed of America that you no longer want it to survive